Dr. Awu, I can see you in the comments. Let me know if that's any better now. We should be okay now, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Cool. Yeah. So, first things first. How are you doing? Obviously, um, COVID has affected everyone pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How's it really done
I'm
it for you?
actually been all right, man. For me, since sort of March, we were sort of following our lockdown rules quite strictly. We were really, quite well behaved. We were, staying in the house. My wife is kind of semi shielding in a
Okay.
way, with the conditions and stuff. So we were fairly strict with it. And I actually really enjoyed the first few months of lockdown, probably into like June,
I didn't hate it.
because
I'll be honest.
did you hate
No, I
it?
didn't. I mean, I was doing a lot of stuff on Instagram. I kind of like enjoyed the switch from UDAs to not UDAs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it was just well, there was two elements of it. One was working on something different, and I noticed that you did a lot during Instagram. I in fact came across dentists of Instagram during
Yeah, I'm not
lockdown,
surprised.
and you were like working on it and grafting on it. And in the same way, I was sort of working on sort of my teaching material, or I was doing quite a few webinars during
Yeah,
lockdown. And I know that there was sort of this sort of so-called webinar tsunami, uh, which hit which hit all the dentists and probably all the
I
medics
didn't
as
go to
well.
single one, not one.
Yeah, and I mean that's great. I mean I didn't do any webinars either. I hosted like maybe four or five, but I didn't actually attend any, and I probably should have in retrospect.
Yeah,
But I think
but do you not think it's
they're
different?
kind
You'd rather if I'm gonna go and learn, I don't want to break the sanctity of my house by bringing the learning inside.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you want to keep that a strictly education-free party zone. And I mean, you got good vibes going on in the background there.
It doesn't say
So,
revision
I mean,
vibes, does it, anywhere?
oh, the revision vibes at all. In fact, you're kind of right because my wife got sick of it.
Hmm.
She was, I think after the third webinar, she was just sort of saying, when is this going to finish? It's just like you're taking up the living room. I had like three screens, like one, like I was taking up the TV so I could see everybody who was participating, and then one was for my screen, the slides, one was for my notes, and it was just sort of taking my house with wires and cables.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a I'm in my bedroom now, but there's a lot of cables. You wouldn't believe how many cables it takes to set up a YouTube live stream. Um, I
no, I
yeah, it's crazy.
trust me, I believe it. And so, so that kind of thing was interesting because it was something new for me to do.
Mm.
Like obviously I do teaching anyway, but this is sort of a different sort of
Do you
format
prefer it?
to um in some ways it's nice because you can sit on your sofa and deliver good quality teaching and have a drink or whatever. And it's also nice because when you do online stuff, you meet or connect with a lot of people that you wouldn't normally interact with. So
Yeah,
people in various parts of the UK, or who are just sort of dialing in from different countries. And it was decent. So on some of the webinars, I think when I started off, the first webinar I had like 20, 30 people, maybe 40.
mm.
And the last one had like 250,
Wow, that's good.
um, which for me is decent. I know we're not talking numbers of people with real repute and renown and fame in dentistry, but for me, I thought that's a reasonable number to hit, and I was enjoying it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean
It was
it's one of those things that I mean I would be so the best thing that could ever happen for me is if every time I went live it was verifiable CPD because people drop in and out. But I kind of prefer it that way because if you're there because you're trying to get that 1 hour ticked off, they almost they don't really bothered about you. Maybe they're just like you know they've got the laptop here and the TV behind, and they're
yes.
they're wearing like I'm wearing now. They've got a t-shirt on but shorts and or whatever it is. It's a different way of learning, I think, and I think it's nicer if you know the people are there to see and hear what you've actually got to say, properly, and you get to dress up a bit. If you're going to, I lectured at Manchester University Dental Research SOC, whatever they call themselves. It's a very long name, on social media. But it was great. I got to put on my suit, go down there. I had a scarf over my shoulder, all that sort of thing, and then you got your tablet in hand.
Yeah, there is a bit of pomp and sort of delivering teaching live in
Yeah,
like a lecture theater or a venue. There's no doubt there is sort of that kind of vibe that you get, which you don't get electronically. You don't get out over social media or sitting here doing a podcast or whatever. You don't really get to engage in that way. Um, and I suppose that when you sort of speak in a live setting in a forum where people can see you, you're sort of seen as an expert in something, and people are there to sort of listen to you.
yeah,
What by choice or not, as in the case of the BDS years, whenever I've lectured to them, they're there by pure mandate.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
it is still, you are still somebody who's sort of who's there to do a job. You have to be professional in it. Whereas when it's online, it's sort of it's a bit more casual, isn't it?
yeah, casual, but you also get a bit more of a you have got more reach. You can do something in front of 1,000 people or 2,000 people, as opposed to it might be 30, 40, 50 in a certain venue. So you may be getting a different crowd that you would never get before.
Yeah, and that's definitely I think the aspect of which I enjoyed. And I mean, even now, I get a message randomly on Facebook from someone. Like, it could be anyone. It could be someone who's sort of practicing down the road from me in Manchester, like somewhere in Winslow or
Yeah.
something, or someone from the other side of the country saying, "Can I have some advice or assistance with this case, or how do I manage this problem that I'm coming across in my practice?" And so that connection that I've built with a few people is quite nice. Um, and that's an element of sort of, I think, of making professional connections and networking that I probably lacked a lot of earlier on in my career. I'm sort of 11 years into my
You're the
career
opposite of
now.
me. I have no real skills but networks.
I don't know. Do you know what? I think that might actually be a more important skill for life. This is life lesson number one and bad decision number one, or was not developing the right set of social skills early on.
And
And I
mine
think
is
that
not developing any skills.
no, but see, that's you can do that. You just got to attend my webinars,
Yeah, there it is. There's the
attend my
link.
teaching sessions, and those skills I think anyone can develop. But I think that so social skills,
Yeah.
networking skills, they really are underplayed in our sort of in our profession, and at an undergraduate level, no one really teaches that, I suppose, or places emphasis on that, both in terms of how you communicate effectively with your patients, but also with your peers. And a lot of success, whether that's negotiating a patient through a complex or costly course of treatment, or whether it's professional success in terms of climbing a ladder in whatever job
Do
you
you think you
do,
could teach it or
is
not?
related.
Because I don't think that's something that you can necessarily teach.
It's interesting because I think I'm better at it now than I was before. I don't know whether that's through experience or whether that's through, it probably is through experience, but um, I feel that as you progress through life, as you progress through your career, you maybe become more self-aware, more reflective on some of your own sort of shortcomings or flaws
Hmm.
or areas for improvement.
But I think what I'm trying to get at is maybe that kind of being able to act professionally between peers is very different to talking to a patient, because I think everyone can do the patient to, or most people, not everyone, can do, you know, professional to patient speech. That's very, it almost comes naturally because you have the knowledge, so you just tell them what you know, and you tell them everything that you know, and then they make the decision. Just peer to peer, it requires like respect,
Yes.
and I don't know about you, but I feel that sometimes people just don't respect each other.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's lots of examples that pop to mind about failure to respect peers, and social media is sort of the breeding ground for disrespect, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
you just need to think about any dental Facebook page in the UK, and you can pick out. Tons of little
Yeah,
examples.
tons, because you have all sorts of keyboard warriors, and I'm probably guilty of it at some point, sort of, just having a pop at someone. And whereas actually, if they were face to face with me, maybe I would phrase things a bit differently. And I suppose we're all guilty. At least I'm guilty of it
Yeah, I'm
sometimes.
sure.
Uh, but you're right. People sometimes we don't have that respect. But I think that element of developing respect or communicating with respect is different, perhaps, to developing a good connection with someone.
Yeah, that's two different things.
Two different things, right? Because I think I always, in person at least, speak to my colleagues with a lot of respect. I don't sort of tend to be judgmental or short with them or anything like that. But developing sort of a friendly or social connection with them requires a different set of skills. It requires sort of commonality or common ground. And that's something I'm probably better at now
Willingness as well,
than
do
I
you
was
reckon?
maybe.
I think it requires, people who are willing to make concession in what they know and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, probably. I mean, um, willingness is important, or maybe sort of the way I see it is, a need to sort of develop a network as well.
Yeah.
And as I said, now I sort of understand that it's important to have good colleagues, good friends who you can rely on, whether it's a case that you're having trouble with or anything else. Whereas earlier on, I was just sort of my job was just a way for me to sort of pay my bills.
Got a
You
great
know,
comment here from Dr. Awua. Love you, man, by the way. Not everyone can relate to patients. The way some dentists communicate with patients sometimes is sad. He says maybe that's part of his world. And you're in Ghana, I think, aren't you, Doc? And some dentists can't manage patients' expectations, and then the patients keep on moving from clinic to clinic where he is.
yeah, and then maybe that could be an individual, clinician issue, or it might be a cultural issue as
Mm,
well. In some cultures or in some countries, or even in the UK, we have areas where patients are not regular. They don't really look to establish dental relationships with their care providers. They're more just casual patients who maybe present in pain or, don't really see the value in having a single dentist.
yeah.
Um, but if you work in that kind of environment and you can sort of present yourself as someone who is reliable or someone that is, can build those relationships with patients, then I'm sure you'll do very, very well.
Yeah, if you're the guy that changes the way things are, Doc. I know you said you wanted to maybe move to Sweden or the UK or the US or Canada or something, but not yourself. I'm talking to Doc who were in the comments. I actually know
Yeah.
that I know him quite well. He's doing loads of reels for us. If you've seen these reels of different types of
Yeah, I
dental
think I have seen
patients,
it.
yeah. Um, what was the one that he put up the other day that he sent me? It was the one where the guy is he's got like a few different types of dentists, and there's like the one that's wife's been annoying him, comes in a grump, and all sorts of different ones. But yeah, Doc, you could be the guy who changes dentistry in Ghana, for example. And he's saying yes, please, Canada. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where you just have to sort of see almost like a what's the gap in the market kind of situation. What do people need here, and just give it to them almost. But yeah, I have seen a couple of those reels, and credit to him for doing those reels. I don't think I'm at that level yet with my social media or self-confidence to deliver those kind of reels. But maybe next few months I'll muster up the courage to start developing some videos for Instagram. I know you've been giving me some tips on
the
that.
thing that Doc Awua has that you don't have and I don't have is rhythm. Do you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there is no argument there whatsoever. Like, there's no comeback to that whatsoever. I mean, in fact, if there was a webinar on how one achieves
Rhythm.
or obtains, that's one that I would definitely
Yeah,
attend.
Dr.
Maybe
Awua, you're gonna
we should
have to
do a
come on
podcast
and teach us about rhythm and how to be funny.
on that. Yeah, I think you guys should do like a live thing where he teaches you.
Oh dear. Yeah, I was actually supposed to do something with I don't know if you saw the girl that I posted on story earlier. She's a chiropractor. I was supposed to do some exercises. I just never got around to it because first of all, I was a little bit chubby through lockdown, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that now. And then second of all, my hair's a mess, so I didn't really want to do like it's also like yoga poses. So again, same thing. I don't want to get involved with it until I'm looking a little bit better. Um,
No, but long hair, you could sort of that could, you could do like the whole bun at the back kind of
Yeah, getting
thing,
there.
and I feel like you might be in the right zone for yoga poses. Not that I'm stereotyping what a yogi looks
A
like.
Thor, basically.
Yeah, a little bit like that. A little bit like that. Come in the whole outfit, bring a hammer,
Yeah.
and then do down dog,
Chopping some logs.
Yeah.
Should we head
Yeah,
back on topic because I don't know where we're going with this. Um,
I don't know.
Tell me a bit about what your why you did dentistry first of all, and then secondly why you went with straightening teeth, orthodontics.
I think dentistry was it's really hard actually when I sort of think back, and I think if I go back to when I was 17 or 18, yeah, I was 17 when I finished school. I went to university,
Yeah.
and I think at that time I kind of had two or three sort of main things I wanted to do. One was sort of dentistry, medicine type thing, and the other one was doing in architecture.
Why does everyone say architecture? I did architecture work experience as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
So why didn't you do it?
Well, actually, I realized very quickly that I was only interested in building my own house, not anyone else's.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to have like, walls that are actually doors, and like this is really one really cool video I saw on YouTube where they've got like a guy's room or a little snug or whatever you want to call it, like a bit of a man cave. And what happens is
yeah.
you're going up the stairs and you come back down, okay? And then you like press a button which is hidden away, and the stairs lifts up, and then you go down underneath, and there's like a man cave, and then it closes. It's like full on hydraulic arms. It just looks like a normal house, and you go underneath. It's like, okay, there's a snooker table down here, or there's a cinema room. That's what you're gonna.
Yeah, that is quite cool. That is quite cool. I mean, one of my friends, in fact, my sister-in-law is an architect, and one of my really good friends, she's also an architect. Um, and so I sort of see the projects that they work on, which are like just unbelievable developments. Or, they're one of them is sort of developing um, sort of bespoke houses for quite well-off clients in sort of South Africa or Kenya and stuff like that. And that what they're producing is just it's so creative.
Yeah,
It's so creative, so bespoke. And when you work, it's like when you do sort of, good dentistry, you get to work with the best materials. You get a carte blanche where you can produce the best work and the best outcomes for your client. And that sort of high-end type of architecture is what really interested me.
I don't think that people tend to sue their architects either. I think that's you pretty.
No, not really. Not really. Not really. They really don't because the sort of, if anything goes wrong, it's usually an engineering aspect of it which goes
Oh,
wrong.
it's got cold.
And that's sort of the technical communication between architects and engineers. So that kind of groundwork is done by the
Yeah,
engineers. Um, and from an architectural point of view, it's more about design and conceptualization, and then building that and making that into a reality. And I really enjoy that kind of thing. But then, when you sort of come to university applications, my mom said to me, she said, "Beta," for which anybody who doesn't speak Urdu, that means son.
it's more
Just
like little
remember,
boy.
yeah, remember that you have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, that's fair enough. And so I ended up becoming a dentist. And I actually quite liked it when I did start sort of getting into clinical work. I did enjoy it. When I was in practice for the first 3 years of my career, I did enjoy that as well. And where I trained in Ireland, that's where I grew up
Okay,
really.
you've not got an accent at
Uh,
all. Does it come on?
no, but I don't think I really have any accent at all. I think it's just a bit of a confusion of accents. I don't. Do I sound like a Manc?
No, not really. I would have said you're like southern, but not like posh, like southern, not posh southern, like Tory southern.
Thanks,
Not you're
thanks a
not
lot.
Tory southern, but you're not like northern either.
Yeah, yeah. I think no, no. I think it's just a bit of a mishmash, like a nomadic accent. It doesn't really
Neutral,
belong
neutral
anywhere.
accent.
Yeah, neutral. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, we grew up in Ireland, and but I've spent my entire working life in Manchester.
Yeah, and Dr. Awuwa is doing my job. He says, "Hi viewers, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe." So you should be running this stream, not me, man.
You should be, man. You should be. If Dr. O'Rourke can like kindly
Just replace
hit up
me.
my Instagram page as well, that'd be amazing. Just plugging it.
Um, so yeah, well, make sure to go follow him, guys, Dr. Uwa and Dr. Ali as well, by the way. But yeah, and then you've gone through dental school. You did a couple of years in practice. Um, were you thinking cosmetic, or were you what drove you towards okay, ortho now?
Do you know what? I think the dental education or the undergraduate curriculum in Ireland is quite different to the way it's set up in the UK. And I think one of the main differences is that at an undergraduate level, you're taught pretty much exclusively by specialists in
Oh
Ireland. So
wow,
they're all
nice.
so pretty much everybody who's supervising in the clinic is either specialist in endodontics or prosthodontics or something. So and that reflects sort of the dentistry which is provided in Ireland, which is essentially just private dentistry.
Is
It's only
that
a
was
very
that
small
Northern
amount.
Ireland you went to, or you were at?
No, Southern Ireland. So I grew up in Dublin, which is the capital, and then my university was in Cork, University College
Oh,
Cork in
Cork.
the Southern
We've
Ireland.
got family friends in Cork actually. It's really nice, really nice area.
In Cork.
Yeah, I've been once. And my dad's one of his old registrars was a GP here, moved back to Ireland, and his family's all there now. We went back over to visit once, and I remember we stayed at their the uh, the house. Was it the house or it was like an inn? But his dad runs it, and they had these amazing like scones and tea and stuff. That's my lasting image of Cork, so I've just got a good vibe about it.
When did you go there?
Oh, you're pushing me now. This has got to be at least 10 years, I think.
There's a high probability that I know your dad's friends because Cork isn't a very big place, and I don't know if they're an Asian family, then there's a good chance we know them.
He's an actual Irish guy, so Dr. O'Donovan. It'd be a
Like,
family GP, but yeah, he was a really nice guy. Um,
yeah, that. But yeah, I spent 3 years in practice, and they were a good 3 years. I used to work in this really nice practice in city center. My boss was great. The other associates there were really good. And I sort of got to this point where either I was going to stay in practice because I was kind of happy in one way because I think the vibe at work was so much fun. It was just sort of a bit of a club, and we had a great time between patients or at lunchtime. We all got along. And as you know, being a dentist or being an associate, it's a pretty reasonable lifestyle. You don't have too much to worry about.
yeah,
Or, but what I didn't like was sort of the NHS treadmill of being on the UDAs. And like you said, pre-lockdown, that's not fun. That's just not fun.
oh, it was my. I'm very. What's the word? What's the word? Impulsive. Is that the word? Maybe. Because or like I make a quick decision sometimes, and it'd been my first year going through the whole UDA cycle stuff, and for some reason I took on an extra 1,000 in the last month, and I just about
Mm.
hit it, or I was about to hit it, but I was destroyed doing it. I was so tired after work up that last few weeks, and then you get to a point where you suddenly stopped and there's nothing. You go, what am I doing? I hadn't seen friends in weeks,
Yeah.
and then I just thought, well, there's got to be a better way about it. You can, like yourself, just improve on something and do something really well, and just do one thing really well, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what happened. I mean it's interesting because sort of I left practice and I did the whole training pathway, specialist level and consultant level. But it is interesting because I think that's going back to 2013. That's 7 years
Mm,
ago. If at that time I had maybe a better mentor who sort of showed me how to diversify a bit better in practice to say, you can do this course or that course and you can do more interesting work. Because I felt that, when I was delivering the NHS kind of work, I wasn't really doing my best.
no, I don't think you
Um,
can. I don't think it's possible, right?
it's very difficult, I know, it's it is a little bit sad in terms of because you sort of leave dental school, or at least I did, and I think the standard of practice that we were taught to was actually extremely high, extremely
Yeah.
high. I didn't think that that was necessarily being delivered every day on the
Gold
NHS.
standard is what they
So
teach in Newcastle. We had some great teachers. I still speak to some of the guys. I actually should probably get one particular teacher of mine on, or he was a great clinician, really good guy. He did my veneers and everything as well. So, um, but they teach to such a high level, and you come out and you're going, okay, well, I can't do quite that because it takes an hour, and it's just a composite or something like that. So you have to almost cut corners. Oh, so Khalid Rashid says, "Hey," and great thumbs up. And it's one of your boys, right?
yeah, actually, I think that's actually one of it's a very old family friend of ours. It's Uncle Khalid. So
Welcome, Uncle.
yeah, so I'm glad. Thank you, Uncle, for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the cast.
Yeah, and guys, if you're watching, make sure to subscribe, like, and share all of that good stuff. So yeah, you headed off into ortho after that. Then how was that process of getting in? Where did you do it? How was the process?
I think. Well, yeah, I mean, I did mine in Manchester. So I left practice. I did a year as an SHO in, Max
Yeah.
Fax in Manchester, and that was a really tough year. Mainly because it's, the switch from practice life to hospital life is quite drastic. I was always quite autonomous as a clinician. I sort of did my own thing. Didn't really need that much help that often, and suddenly you're sort of on the bottom rung of the ladder, and you have to sort of work your way up from there again. And it's difficult because in a secondary care setting, there's a lot more management, paperwork, and governance to sort of look after before you make any decisions or make any changes. So that can be quite frustrating for someone who's used to sort of working very autonomously.
Mm,
And I did find that change was difficult. But it's kind of like what we said before. You just have to understand, what your path is a little bit. Um, and understand what obstacles are in your way and trying to overcome those obstacles. So that took me a long time to actually get through. And certainly not in that SHO year. I didn't really get through in that. I probably struggled through that year because I just couldn't get used to working in that way.
what was it about that kind of situation that was?
Like I said, it's just that you're sort of. I would say that in secondary care institutions, there's a lot of red tape that you have to get
Oh, is
through.
it is it we don't do that here kind of thing, or that's
I think I have to be on broadband speed, but um,
one.
yeah.
Reconnection successful. uh,
Okay, excellent.
how are we, guys? Am I back? We just got cut off. I think Virgin Media's against me today. I think
I
we're
think
good.
we're good. Yeah, so I mean, I was saying, for example, if you wanted to decide that, you have a new standard operating procedure for something in practice, you have a new way that you're going to do your endo, and you just write it out on a sheet, you give it to the nurses, and that's it, it's
Mm,
done. Or if you want to produce a patient information leaflet, you type it up on your computer, you put your logo on
yeah,
it, it's done. It'll take us about 3 months.
it's like the whole thing. You can't take photos and showcase your work because it belongs to the hospital, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
it does belong to the hospital. Yeah, and there's just those kind of restrictions that which make life just a bit difficult and a bit frustrating sometimes. But of course, on the flip side, in the hospital, you tend to see the most challenging and complex cases. So there is that sort of
reward.
that reward element as well.
Thanks,
It's just
thanks,
that you have
Zohaib. Yeah, he says it's all good. Thank you, Zohaib. How are you, by the way? I've not spoken to you in years, man. Zohaib Ali. He was at Newcastle for a while actually with us. Um,
you know what? I think this might be a different Zahib Ali.
do you think
Yeah, because something I sort of didn't allude to. We were talking about who's the guy that you said that looks like me earlier on, your friend in
Hanan?
London? Yeah, Hanan. So I was, you were saying we'll play a trick or whatever. But I didn't tell you that I actually have a twin brother.
Well, yeah, that. Um, no, you didn't. No, you
Did you
didn't. No,
know
I
that?
didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. I'm trying to think whether Amma told me or not, but he didn't tell me that actually. Um,
Yes. So Zahaib, yeah, he's Zahaib. He's
oh
written
no,
here. I
it's
think
a
I'm a
different
different Zahaib.
Zahaib. I've just gone onto Facebook. Yeah, it's a different Zahaib.
It is my
Ah,
brother Zahaib,
uh,
who is um, he's now a prosthodontist in London, but coming back to Manchester very, very shortly.
Manchester's better than London. I will say that. Just
Hands down, hands down. This is the place to say it. You heard it here. Manchester is better than London. I want everyone to know about it. There's no comebacks on this. Nobody else, nobody else can say anything right now. Manchester is hands down better than London.
yeah, I mean we up north we have more chilled out people. Manchester is one of the most welcome places that I've been to. Like everyone is just really, really down to earth, chilled out. Food's good. It doesn't cost you
Mm,
£1,000 to park for an hour,
yeah,
or 12,000 per night or anything like that. So London's great if you're just going to have a quick 3-day weekend and you got to go down and see friends who think London's amazing. So they live there. But I couldn't
yeah.
live there.
No, I couldn't either. I've lived in a few cities around the world, but Manchester is probably my number one city in the world. And obviously, I'm biased. I live here, but I guess there's a reason I decided to settle here, having had experience of other
Mm.
cities. But it's definitely up there in terms of size of the city. It's so convenient, and so diverse as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I first moved here from Ireland, um, I was loving the diversity because in Ireland we don't have much more diverse now. But over the years, we were sort of the first generation of sort of
Asians.
Asians
Yeah.
growing up in Ireland. So when we first came here, I was the first of our family to move over. Now we all live here, but when I first came here, I used to love sort of going to Russia or Korea and speaking Urdu to everybody, and it was like a novelty for me. It's no longer novelty now. I just straight up go into like Queen's English because I just realized that actually not everyone appreciates that novelty, and they don't actually appreciate what they have here.
I don't speak much
Um,
Urdu at all, so yeah, I can't really get in on you with that one. Well, in fact, we were saying on the quick live we did beforehand, we have some interesting family backgrounds. So you hit me with yours, and I'll hit you with mine because I think we said okay, it's quite convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose my family background, my ethnicity is just it's all I'm Pakistani by origin, but I was born
Yeah.
in Pakistan first. I was born in Pakistan, and then when we were quite young, we moved to Ireland, probably around 1990 or something like that. So I was probably 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and we were there for a few years, and then we moved to Saudi Arabia,
Oh, so you've moved around quite a
and
lot.
yeah, we moved around. And we were there again for another sort of 3 to 4 years or so. And then we moved back to Ireland and then sort of dotted around Ireland for a while, sort of leaving a trail of destruction in our wake, really. But then finally settled in Dublin, and I was there from sort of the age of 11 to just pre-university, and 5 years in Cork, and then finally ended up in Manchester.
Mm.
So that's my kind of history broadly. Probably not as convoluted as I led you to believe
Okay,
it
yeah, I
would
was
be. Now,
thinking you're like
so,
I don't know, got some Aztec blood or something. I don't know.
oh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've got something in me, but I've never had it tested for any reason.
No, it's
So,
not too
yours.
bad. I was born and raised here, but the family is very much we have people within the family from everywhere. So my dad's side is Indian born, but spent all of his formative years in Kuwait, and then came here for uni. So if we're going to see family, grandparents on my dad's side is Kuwait, which is quite strange, I think, for
Mm,
Asians. And then my
mm.
mom's side, she came from Pakistan and stayed here when she was, I think, 5 or 6. So it's been a long time. But then we've married into all sorts of different ethnicities, etc. So we've got a very diverse family sort of nationalities in ticked off almost.
Yeah, but I think that's quite interesting. I mean, because it brings so much more to like family events and functions.
Oh,
It's
different
never
food.
different food. That's the best part of it. I mean, you guys probably make an incredible TikTok videos, because you have so much to bring. Everyone just has like a new flavor or a new culture or color to bring to the table. That's probably quite an interesting place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of. I used to be, but I'm less and less a huge fan of like Indian food now. Um, which I think some people would be horrified by. I used to love salan and rice, but now it's kind of more like I want it cleaner. I want it a bit. a bit neater and all that kind of thing. Whereas this is a bit like you kind of look around and you go,
But
well, everyone's got
there's
heart
got
problems. This is not a good idea.
there's got to be times where we just go. I just need some roti and some salad.
Yeah, every now and then, but it's not like all the time. Uh,
It's not.
I'm much more.
Is it like a week thing, or is it like once? Is it like a novelty now for you?
No, it's still semi-regular. But if I'm picking a meal, I'm having steak and I'm having veg over
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a salad and rice or salad and roti.
But is that because you're trying to bulk now? And I've seen your reels, your gym
Hard.
reels.
It's hard eating so much, man.
It is. Have you got a plan? Like, are you on like a particular number of calories a day or anything like that?
Not calories. I tend to pick protein because I'm like a small eater. Like I don't eat lots and lots. So I'm trying to get 200 grams of protein daily, and then just hope the rest sorts itself out, and just slowly grow up from there.
Right.
I'm kind of in the I'm untrained, so I'm quickly regaining all the muscle memory. So that's gonna slow up soon. So we'll have to see where I get to once things level off. Um,
Yeah.
but it's been fun. It's been a long time. It's not since fourth year uni where I've been regular going to the weights. So it's been like 5 years since I've done it properly.
Yeah, and it is a commitment. I mean, eating regularly is the hardest thing ever. And I remember, I mean, probably before I got married and when I was sort of going to the gym regularly and like training, really hard and just doing it properly and eating well. And I remember my trainer at that point had me eating like 5 or 6 meals a
Wow.
day. At one point I was up to like I'm only 5'8",
So we're
or
the same height.
probably not even 5'8", and um, and at one point, it was great because I actually needed to get into shape. I needed to sort of trim a little bit, um, but then I started trimming too hard. Like it was just dropping, it was just cutting too much, and I started becoming like pencil thin. So he upped my calories, he doubled them in a week.
Doubled.
So I ended up
Oh.
on about 3,000 calories a day, and that was crazy. It was so hard to sustain that. And then the flip side of it is that if you don't maintain that workout, you know what
Oh, it just
happens.
disappears. It's like it evaporates in front of your eyes.
And yeah, and it turns into mush because you're still used to eating 3,000 calories a day, but you're not spending that energy. You're not doing any deadlifts anymore. So suddenly, your entire body is just like turning into marshmallow.
Yeah, you turn into a bit of a potato. That's kind of how it is, isn't it? Uh,
That's the thing. So I mean, I don't know if you've thought about what you're gonna do once you get a bit busier or you start going back to work more regularly or whatever. Like what's gonna happen when you can't do the workouts the way you're doing them?
well, I think the thing is, when you join a gym, you you always go with someone. I always someone who had to go with a friend. Or when we were in uni, if I went, there was always another one of the lads from the dental school in the gym. So it was like a social event. And then once the guys that I used to go with left, that really tailed off because like, oh, when I go now, I don't see anyone I know or people I like anyway. And so now it's like it's less of a fun thing. It's less of a fun thing to go, and that's because I failed a year in uni. So the people I started out with, they'd all left, and I was left doing the last 18 months kind of with my cousin for a while, and then he left, and then I had my resit. So then there's less people that I was regular going to the gym with, um,
Yeah.
and then obviously after uni, you never have that again, do you? You never have like 25 of your mates who are potentially going to be in the gym around the corner from you. So it's getting over that. So having it
Yeah.
at home now is a completely different way of doing things. So you can get into the routine of actually I'm gonna FaceTime my friend. He's gonna go to the gym in UAE, and then I'm gonna go to the gym here, and we'll just chat between sets, and then do it
Yeah.
properly. And it's not like it's an effort to go to the gym because half of the problem is I've done work now. I need to go to the gym. If the gym is home, you can't say I was nowhere near. Like I just didn't go around that
Yeah,
area.
that's true. I guess you're removing that excuse for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, because we
Well,
like excuses, right? Um, there's
oh,
always
I love
something.
a good
There's always
excuse.
something in there going. You know what? What if you just had a milkshake? What if you just had an ice cream? Oh, that pizza smells good.
Exactly, but in fact, it's interesting because my wife was doing something, they would sort of FaceTime. and they were sort of she would in fact like instruct her on how to sort of what they were going to do that day. And in lockdown they did it a lot because the weather was pretty nice during lockdown.
Yeah.
And they just do it outside in the garden, and it was sort of a great way just to sort of catch up with people and just stay fit as well.
Yeah, it works. It's almost not being bored. So I would either be on what's it called, Boatim or whatever it's called, with Saman, who's actually in the comments. He says London is better than the rest of the UK villages. Um, but yeah, so I'm usually on with him, or I'm watching a podcast, or listening to a podcast. Even it's either a football one, um, or it's Joe Rogan, just to get some different things in my mind.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's good, and there's a lot of variation around Joe Rogan's podcast. I have checked those out. But Saman obviously, unfortunately, is ill-informed about how good it is. Well,
Yeah.
if you come to Manchester, let me know. Just look me up, and I'll demonstrate to you objectively why Manchester is better. Starting with the taste of the water.
Yorkshire water, Manchester water, and then that weird stuff you get out of the tap in London. It's just,
That's not. It's not water. I think it's reconstituted liquid from something, but it's not water.
yeah, it's not right. That's for sure. Um, yeah. So where are you working these days, man?
Okay, so obviously I'm a consultant is my sort of primary job. So that's at Royal Bolton Hospital in Bolton,
Yeah.
obviously. So I'm there sort of three days a week, and then I work privately at two practices. One is called Northern House Orthodontics in Northern in sort of South Manchester, and the other is Sale Dental Spa in Sale in Manchester. And I sort of do sessions there, every couple of weeks or something like that. And I think both of them are really lovely practices. And one of them is actually Sale is at a sort of a general practice where I'm a sort of the specialist or consultant
Yeah.
orthodontist. And Northern is a specialist practice which is owned and run by all consultant orthodontists. So all the clinicians there are just orthodontists who work around Manchester in consultant
That's pretty good.
roles. And so that's a bit more of a specialized practice, which is nice in its own right as well. It's good to sort of have that mix between hospital and practice because the hospital is all about complex cases. It's stuff which is being referred in, so it's all the orthodontic stuff or hypodontia or complex dental alveolar, conditions.
Do you know all this
Um,
hospital work? Because I mean, we see a lot of really cool cases coming out of the states, on social media, etc. It would almost be really good, and this is kind of your opinion, and without getting you in trouble with your bosses, who are probably not going to watch this anyway, because um, you know, they're probably not. But anyway, some of that work, it was surely really interesting if they were to document before, during, after, just to like raise the profile of what people are actually doing in these hospitals, because I think a lot of people don't know, especially outside the profession.
yeah, I think that's actually a real point. And the thing is that I mean, our documentation in hospital is incredible. I mean, I use the medical illustration department on almost on a daily basis. We have proper photographers taking really high quality images, and we have great X-ray machines and all that kind of stuff. So we have the records all there. I guess the problem is in it comes into sort of patient consent for use of images, and then the hospitals always have their own policies on how you use the patient's images.
Surely you just have a
Um,
consent form goes, look, none of this is going to be what's it called, identifiable, or if you're not bothered about it being identifiable, then tick this box, and then you go to town. Your orthodontist is someone who's got a livelihood to make, and he wants to show off what he can do, and what he can do on actual real patients, because there's all this thing about, did you see that advert that got banned in the tube? This is another reason I don't like London.
no, I didn't see it.
So it was like, I think it was a protein shake or something. They were trying to sell a protein shake, and they had some gym girl in some gym gear and holding the protein shake, and it was like, oh yeah, are you ready for summer? And then loads of people complained, and then it got banned. And there's this whole thing about unrealistic expectations, which first of all I have a huge issue with, because it's realistic, because that's a real person. Uh,
Mhm.
and then, but obviously, it's the same thing. They have this whole thing about, oh yeah, it's unrealistic to expect your teeth to look like X, Y, Z. But this is treatment that we do day in, day out. or people like
Yeah.
yourself do day in day out. So if there's actual specialists going, this is what we can do, then that's actually realistic, and you can see what is possible.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think it's a great idea, and I think that trusts or hospitals show what we do, mainly because orthodontics, particularly in secondary care, is actually delivered to a really, really high standard. Most of the work is complex, and it would be interesting to actually showcase that work. I suppose it has to sort of a reason needs to exist before you publish these kind of images or photos. And from a hospital's point of view, much like sort of from a practice point of view, you'd want to sort of promote the work that you're doing. I guess, as a hospital, there has to be some benefit for them to sort of go through all that work.
Mm,
So as a clinician or as a consultant who works in a hospital, I'm happy to showcase my work, but that doesn't really benefit me in any particular way. There's nothing for me to. Obviously, people will know that I've done that work, which is great, but someone has to go through the effort of cutting through all the red tape, getting all the patient consents, submitting it to the hospital, web page people, the comms team, go through all that whole process of actually getting one set of patient images up, and that's just for one set of records.
it's a
So,
nightmare, isn't it?
so it's that red tape, and I do work in the NHS. I am a consultant there, and I'm happy to talk about that candidly. But yeah, it is difficult to sort of go through that process, and when you have sort of more pressing things to do, like organize your department or implement clinical governance, or look at patient safety, do an audit. These things are more pressing
Yeah,
as a consultant than it is to sort of publicize your work. Whereas obviously in practice, it's super easy. You're the kind of the boss, whether you're the associate or the principal. You have a consent form, like you say, you get that consent form signed, you ping it up to your Instagram, and it's done.
yeah, it's much easier.
It's simple. It's really simple. And I think in the US, a lot of the work is privatized as well, which is why, again, it's easy for them to do that.
But even dental students are showcasing the work they're doing, which is what made me think of it, because I've got good friends out there who are going through dental school right now, and they'll send pictures of composites or crown preps and stuff that they've done. And, it's good because people can say, oh, actually, maybe you should try polishing with this particular set or something like this,
Yeah.
or oh, have you thought about this particular type of onlay design or whatever it is? And it's ways that I think it could be really useful for people to learn. And on a patient
I
benefit, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's probably a reflection of our society as well, because people here, or rather, the system here is just a bit more litigious, and I think British people by nature are a lot more cautious. They don't really want to rock the boat, and it's hard to sort of, push boundaries here a little bit. It takes a long time for change to occur, whereas in the US, the trends are sort of 10 to 15 years ahead of where they are in the UK. So we might be where they are in some years' time. But for example, if a dental student in Manchester took a patient image and put it on their phone, took a patient's photo and put it on Instagram, that would be breaking all sort of tenets of information governance policy that their hospital or the dental school has put into
Mm.
place. And it's those kind of measures and repercussions which people face which prevent them from sharing this stuff. It's not necessarily a good thing. It does protect patients in terms of their identities and their data, and that's part of all data protection and sort of coming across like a real sort of square.
I'm
But
probing here.
unfortunately, those are the kind of regulations that we work under. Whereas actually when I am in practice, my patients are more than that, more often than not, happy to take a photograph with me,
I've never had someone
or
say no.
no, they're really honestly they're really quite nice, and even patients who aren't on Instagram themselves, they'd be like, yeah, I'm not on Instagram, but I don't mind if you take a photo, it's no problem. I think
I
it's
think they
great. It
enjoy
just
it.
develops a
I
relationship.
think they really enjoy it. They're like, oh, I feel like a model. Oh, is this going on the internets? Like the old lady saying and stuff like that. Oh, is it that social media?
I think we've got some funny, speaking of social media, we've got some funny comments
Yeah,
here
I'm just
from
having a look at those. I didn't know which ones I can and can't read out. Uh, do you
oh
want to field these?
Farouk. Yeah, Farouk is asking me, why is Zuhaib on? This is his sort of go-to joke. The thing with Farouk you have to understand is that he is of limited capacity.
He has one joke.
So So
It's
I mean, some say it's not even. But he's asked what an SB is. What an SB is an orthodontic term. It refers to cinch back. And it's just basically when you turn the wire in behind the last molar so it doesn't dig their cheeks. Nothing more than that. Um, yeah, and I'm glad Zahib is getting his digs in. I was trying to plug him. I'm like, look, my brother's a prosthodontist and stuff.
we'll bring him
All
on.
he's doing is calling back.
We'll bring him on one day.
I think we should just bring him on and put him on the spotlight a little bit.
I mean, I'm trying to do 4 or 5 podcasts a week live, so I'm happy to have some more of the boys on.
I think that would be great. I think, what I think would be really fun is to do a live podcast where we do, um, like get the thing is that from my sort of generation of dentists or from my sort of year group of dentists, there's a quite sort of ended up in my circle, periodontists or,
Yeah.
orthodontists or prosthodontists or whatever. And I think it'd be interesting to sort of do some live cases and see, if we can sort of plan cases together as a bunch of specialists or even just GDPs or whatever. I think that would be really fun. But I think, what would make that successful or really interesting is if we did it with a group of friends.
Oh,
Um,
so you can
what,
repeat each other what you're doing
I
almost
totally. I mean, I sent his X-ray.
tastefully because it's a patient, but
Of course, of
yeah.
course. And I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, as Zohaib is saying, can't really guarantee conversation.
Wow.
It might-
Are you guys
you
even
might need to have
friends?
you might need to have a sort of a
A beep.
delay and with a beep.
I'll have to learn how to do the beep.
Yeah, you need to. You might have to like to say it. The beep.
But to be honest, what I'm thinking of doing, I mean, we were speaking before we started about, would it be better to do it on Instagram? But actually doing these remotely is not part of the long-term plan, which is why I've kind of like I leave the Instagram live to just like spur of the moment. I'm bored. I'm going to go on Instagram live, see what everyone's up to, and just have some random guy jump on. But we're actually supposed to be doing these in person, so it would be stick the mic in the middle of the table or a couple of mics on the table. We can have the case up there, and it could be roundtable discussion around. Okay, what do you reckon about this? Then, have a proper chat, and then go wild off topic as well. Get a pizza in,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah.
And by the way, guys, let me know what you're having for dinner tonight because I need some ideas.
Did you say
Well, I can't
pizza?
actually have pizza. I have to make my own. I have to put lactose-free cheese on. Um,
Oh my God.
when I ever bother to do that, but yeah, guys, in the comments, we want to know what you guys are all eating for dinner tonight because I need a few ideas. So yeah, I mean that's the idea, to have like a proper like roundtable sort of discussion live with the people in the room. Obviously,
I think that would be a great idea. I mean, Farouk is really warming up to the idea. He said, well, I mean, the thing about Farouk is that he actually has his own
all right.
podcast. Um, but obviously, he seems to think that coming here is a
Did
better
Farouk
idea.
message me
So,
one time?
Farouk,
I think he did.
if you need help with your own
Big
podcast, let me
Dari,
know. I'll
right?
be able to help your mic as well. No problem.
Is that Farouk with the?
With it. Yeah, Farouk has all here and none here.
Yeah, he did. He sent me a message one time, and then didn't get. Did he get back to me, or did I not get back to him? It might have been me.
Probably the latter, and no one will blame you for it.
Yeah.
I should clarify. I do know Farouk. He has the uh, regrettable honor of being within my friend circle. So just in case everyone thinks I'm being unprofessional, I do know this guy
Yeah, it's a
personally.
small world. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Awua's having rice and tomato sauce with beef. That sounds good. Keep them coming in. I think we'll make it a thing. I might, in fact, next time what I'll do is I'll set it up there. So if you tweet me your food, I'll put it on screen and we'll rate who's got the best dinner each week. That'll be good. Let's dive in, right? We're supposed to be talking about Invisalign versus traditional ortho versus lingual ortho versus do nothing versus take them all out and do implants.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of an interesting world right now in orthodontics because the advent of in 6 month smiles and Invisalign, all this kind of stuff has sort of
Smile
opened up the
Design Club.
floodgates.
Oh god, I hate that advert.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads. There are so many that are just, we're using that model. And the interesting thing is that this model is actually being propagated by dentists. The whole do-it-yourself orthodontics, because these places tend to rent surgeries from dentists. And some of them have their own retail units, like
Yeah.
Smile Club, but a lot of them actually rent premises from dentists and just pay them like a daily rate or whatever. So this model is being propagated by them. So in a way, our profession is shooting itself in its foot by sort of having a quick earner. Um,
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? I've had patients come back from having had these heli aligners, whatever you want to call them, um, and I could still stick my fist through that particular anterior open bite.
hmm. And what will happen is that most of these aligners is sort of, so I guess for the layperson who may be sort of viewing this, the aligners are kind of like Invisalign, where you pop in a new aligner every now and then. Um,
It was me, I think.
then what's the best time? Should we just field a few of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
questions?
We'll fill them as we go along. We'll jump back onto the Smile Direct Club. Dr. Ali, when is the best time to do Invisalign course? Interested, but currently doing DFT. When do you think the best time to book the course is?
I think if you're doing DFT, just get your DFT out of the way
Yeah.
first. And then if you're interested in staying in practice, just start in practice, get comfortable with being a good dentist first, and then look at the Invisalign course the next couple of years. Don't rush into that, because you do really need to understand what good dentistry is before you understand what good orthodontics is.
Not even just that, but let's just say dentist money. Sorry, you've got to put your actual name there. So I'll just let's just say that you go through Invisalign and you do it and you realize, oh, I want to do pros and I'm going to do pros specialty. You've just wasted $1,000 on an Invisalign course that you're never going to use. So
Yeah.
what was the point in doing it? So maybe get to a point where you are 1000% sure that that's the thing. Because I actually signed up for the Invisalign course and then quit because then I thought, oh, well, actually, I'm going to do endo. So, I know I'm going to do endo. So I'm not going to do something in the meantime, just even if it's a couple of years worth of Invisalign until I get on an endo course. What's the point in doing
Yeah.
that? Because I know I want to do endo. So
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
waste your money.
I mean, that's a really strong point. Absolutely. I mean, I understand what you want to do, and if it's worth it for you or not. I suppose that's probably the most important thing. Um, and the other thing is, it's very fashionable dentistry, isn't it? Invisalign is very fashionable. There's a super cool digital scanner. You press a button, it fixes your teeth magically. Fairies dance around and sprinkle dust on you. Patients are happy. You do some composite
Mm.
bonding, and it's great. But actually, it's not that straightforward. And a lot of the cases that you'll see on social media, they might look okay at first glance, but when you have a closer look, there's plenty of problems going on. And most of what's called sexy dentistry, which is Invisalign, straighten the teeth, and then do composite bonding. There's so much bad stuff going on right now, which is shocking. And what's actually really shocking is that there are dentists who are putting their work on social media to attract clients, but when you just have a 30-second look at their work, the quality is really poor. And there was one that I saw recently,
Without naming names.
talk without naming names, no, of course.
Name the names
Where
afterwards, please,
someone's
so I can have a look.
that'll be a one to
Yeah.
one. There was someone was just doing a lot of composite bonding, to give that sort of classic Love Island look, the Molly May, I call it. And and this case, it came in, and this person had masses of periodontal disease, just hugely swollen, red, inflamed lips, sorry, inflamed gums. Um, and this dentist on that visit did sort of a 2 hour makeover with just full composite veneers on his crooked teeth, with loss of gum disease. And you don't need me to tell you, the implications of that in terms of the dental and the gum health in the long term. But this dentist was happy to put that work on Instagram, knowing that other dentists will be seeing it. So it's sort of this disregard for health and it's almost a disregard for your own professional reputation to be doing that kind of work. So to whoever asked that question, I think it was dentist mommy. Um,
That makes me laugh. It's not even that funny.
it's a
I'm
good
just childish.
it's yeah, it's unique. You hit the nail on the head. But yeah, I mean, it's about just doing good quality work and making sure that you're doing the work for the right reasons. I mean, the case I've described, this person has done the work because the patient has asked them to, and they're paying the money for it.
Mm.
That work is going to fail, and they're going to ruin their reputation as a
I mean,
result of that.
it's
And
very
it's really
difficult,
gone
isn't it?
down.
Because patients sometimes, maybe they strong arm some dentists. Maybe some people haven't got the strongest will in the world and just go along with it in the end. Um, I'm trying to think from my own experience. I've done one case where there was some gum disease. It was stable, and I did a diastema closure. Um, but then it was stable. We weren't seeing bleeding everywhere. We were seeing a pretty nice bleeding through your mouth and all that sort of thing. But there is historic gum disease. So where do you draw the line sometimes? Of
Mm,
obviously if it's red and inflamed and just gushing, then that kind of answers the question there. But um,
yeah.
maybe sometimes there's an in between kind of um, in between sort of area as well.
Yeah, a gray area. Sometimes you do have a gray area, and that's okay. We do see patients with historical disease. It doesn't mean that they're still going to be diseased. Jabir, I think we have to ignore Farouk at this point because I think, unfortunately, this is the highlight of his Friday night, and I'm glad we could be the highlight of his Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as
I'll
you
get
say,
back to you, Farouk, as well, because I lose a lot of I get a lot of DMs. So I lose people quite commonly in there.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, just to finish up that question from dentist mommy, just take your time, do your DFT, work for a year or two, and see what you actually like doing. The trend, do something because you have a genuine interest in it, and if you
Yeah.
do that, you will genuinely be better at it than anybody else because you have a true passion for it, a true interest in doing that work, and when you sort of work to those lines or those limits, then you won't tend to sort of do things just for the sake of earning a quick buck. It's just genuinely not worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure. So by going back in and sticking the boot in on Smile Direct Club like we were before.
Yeah. So Small Direct Club, I guess all the dentists will know about it. For lay people, it's just where you get your teeth scanned or an impression or mold made of your teeth, and then they send you these aligners which move your teeth into a desired position. But I suppose the problem with it is that it doesn't really check if you're dentally fit or healthy. It doesn't check the health of your gums or if you need any fillings to be done
Mm.
first. Uh, Crucially, a lot of patients actually have problems with Smile Direct Club and similar alignment
The
companies
way I describe it
because there's
is they get the most attractive McDonald workers they can find, give them £1.50 extra over what they were already getting, and hand them an nitro, and then they get you to scan you, and then they send you some stuff and don't really tell you what to do with it. Don't check anything. Somebody ticks it on a little online portal and has never seen you, no idea what's going on, and then 6 months later you've got a mess.
yeah, that's not entirely, untrue. But there are a couple of, I think there was a couple of documentaries
Allegedly,
or
by the way.
which show did it online. They went and sort of had like a hidden camera where they went into consultations. It's worth just it'll be on
Yeah.
YouTube, where you can see what these consultations are like, but not really good. And you do pay for what you get. So if you want to have straight teeth, that's great, but just go to a professional, whether that's your local dentist, specialist, or consultant. But you always pay for what you get, generally speaking.
I'm not even in favor of GDP led ortho. I'm really not. Like I think if you're someone like David Breton who does only GDP led ortho and you know cosmetics, that's one thing. But if there's someone who's doing a bit of NHS, doing a bit of private, composite fillings because the patient wants a white filling in the back tooth instead of a black one, and then you're doing a couple of Invisalign cases here and there, I think that's a recipe for kind of disaster. Do you think the same, or because you're not doing a lot, you've not really got much orthodontic
I
training.
mean, the thing is that there's sort of when you go into dental education or any type of education, there's sort of different levels of competence, and it starts from unconsciously incompetent there's four different grades where you're
Yeah.
sort of at the end of it, where you're unconsciously competent, where you just are good and you're not even aware of the fact that you are competent or good at something that you're doing, and it's a case of not knowing what you don't know. So there's a whole field of orthodontics, or there's a whole field of endodontics, or any specialty, and unless you are aware of almost what the syllabus or what education is required in that field, you don't really know what it is that you perhaps are missing out on or are lacking.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
so that goes all the way from diagnosis, and patient selection, all the way to um, doing very fine and detailed orthodontic tooth movements, and that's it doesn't matter whether you're using a fixed brace, whether you're using a lingual, brace which is on the inside of your teeth, or you're using Invisalign. The principles of tooth movement are the same for everything. So it's really important that you understand those principles. I think that I don't want to sort of say that GDP shouldn't do any orthodontics or
No,
anything
leave the
like
big
that.
sweeping
It's
statements to
just
me. Don't worry.
absolutely, absolutely, you nailed that one. So I just think that you should, number one, you should be honest in your work. So you should never pretend or portray to a professional or a patient that you know more than you
Mm.
do, or that you have more experience than you do have, or that you are qualified in something that you're not. So I see a lot of sort of websites or social media or practices saying we specialize in Invisalign, and I find that kind of terminology quite
Questionable.
misleading. For example. Yeah, because that's what does that even mean? It's not that Invisalign is not specialism in anything. Invisalign is basically just a lab that produces aligners based on your prescription, and that's what it
Yeah, I
is.
mean, there's some pretty
Um,
pretty sweet technology that goes around with it, with the ITRO and the simulated what it's going to look like and stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
they aren't treatment plan makers, really. You need to know what's going on with your patient before you kick the can down the road and then find some issues.
absolutely. And in fact, I spoke about this because someone asked me on one of the webinars. They said, and I explained to them how Invisalign aligners are actually made. So Invisalign aligners are made by technicians in Costa Rica. That's where they're manufactured. Now, technicians that are employed by Invisalign are not dentists, dental nurses, dental health professionals of any description. They're just people who sit on a computer and have a mouse, and they click the mouse to move the tooth in a particular way.
Mm.
And how that tooth moves is based on the prescription you give them. So if as a dentist, you're just sort of accepting your basic clean check, that clean check is not provided by anybody with any dental qualification.
Yeah, it's some computer
So
data.
it's yeah, it's just someone with a mouse. It could be your granny, It could be your granny in Costas
Yeah,
have a hustle. So it's really important that you understand the implications of accepting that plan. Invisalign are not saying that this plan is okay, by the
it's
way. They're
it's
just
a
saying this.
it's a it's a oh you could do this maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And to just simply click go is
Yeah,
is not safe. So I just think that be honest in your work, and if you are competent at doing Invisalign or any other brace, then by all means go right ahead. But I do find that people who aren't competent do eventually run into trouble.
yeah.
Uh,
That's what worried me because I was thinking, you kind of get a point where you come out of uni, and I'm not long out of uni, so I can kind of still feel it, and you're just like, I want to do something really cool. I want to do some cool treatment. I want to do like some high quality stuff, and Invisalign, yeah, you can move stuff. That'll be good. And you're kind of just enthusiastic, but then kind of as soon as I'd signed up to the course, I was thinking, well, I don't know anything about moving teeth. What am I doing? And after one day, they're gonna let me. And that kind of spooked me a little bit. I was like, actually, maybe not. So yeah, it's you gotta know your limits, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what you want to do, what you can, uh, what your have a long term plan. I think that's what we're trying to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's hard because early on it's difficult to identify and narrow your field into, what your interests truly are because you need to sort of experience a bit of everything. And orthodontics is one of those things which we probably have the least experience of as general practitioners.
None.
It's almost thing, and I had quite a bit of it as an undergrad. I think I'm probably lucky to have that. So I had some understanding of what it involved. But orthodontics is not what people think it is. It's not even what dentists think it is. Orthodontics is not Invisalign. Orthodontics is not tooth
Mm,
movement. Orthodontics is a diagnosis and management. That's what it is.
yeah.
And you move teeth in order to manage malocclusion or to improve aesthetics or whatever the case may be. But Invisalign does not equate to orthodontics.
It's a little tool,
It's a
nothing more.
it is, which goes far beyond just lining up the front six teeth.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of comments. Exactly agree. Certain cases have to be referred if you think the whole thing through. And he's surprised about Costa Rica and loving the podcast. Thank you, Doc. You're always welcome here. Yeah, it's interesting that you say orthodontics is treatment of malocclusion. Have you got much thoughts or opinions on the... My cat's here now, down there actually. She's at the window just tapping. What was I saying? Yeah, do you have much thought about the sleep apnea kind of side of things? Because we see a lot of that coming in the States. They've got sleep apnea orthodontists almost.
Yeah, definitely. There is definitely a role for orthodontics within sleep apnea, perhaps not the first line of treatment, but some of this has been researched quite well by sort of orthodontic academics in the UK. So Prof. Johal in London has done a lot of work on this. And off the back of that, Prof. Johal's technician that he worked with at a master's level is Matt Everett, who set up S4S Dental Laboratory in Sheffield.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of sort of sleep apnea type of work going on, and a lot of it relates to just snoring devices or anti-snoring devices, which advance the mandible, whereas the other stuff relates to the more orthognathic style treatment where we're doing osteotomies and jaw operations to improve airway or try to reduce sleep apnea. So there is that, but again, um, yeah, but again, it's that kind of work tends to come into the hospital. We do, and we have started to do a lot of orthodontic stuff privately as well. One of the practices where I work, but mainly the sleep apnea stuff relates to mainly the hospital work. I know that patients are coming in more to primary care as well now. So a lot of dentists
Mm.
are posting on the forums about sleep apnea, and they're having devices made from particular labs who sort of try to enter into the market and earn some additional revenue from there as well.
My question is more maybe, I think that's all good because you had people come as an adult with sleep apnea, but is there any way where we can be looking at people going through growth, 7 to 11, maybe that sort of age where everything's growing, where we can pick it up and go, actually, we'll just do some, I don't know, maybe some expansion of the maxilla. Is that something that
Yeah.
happens?
Um, Again, it's probably more contentious
I know, which
and
is
not
why I'm asking you.
particularly. Yeah, I know. I see that. I mean, not particularly mainstream in the UK. Um, I think that it depends on where you practice. So, if you examine private health economies in countries where dentistry and orthodontics is primarily delivered privately,
Hmm.
you'll find that there's a lot more early treatment. You'll find that patients are sort of taken on into private clinics quite early on in the mixed dentition or early
Early adult.
adult dentition. Yeah, very early adult dentition, and sort of almost sort of branded in a way by that practice. So sort of do a treatment or procedure, and that might be some maxillary expansion. Um, and a lot of this is going on in the absence of sort of the need or the obvious need for maxillary expansion, which is the presence of crossbites. Um, and sort of the thinking behind it is that if you expand the maxilla, you in a way improve the airspace or the airflow available, and it helps the patient's breathing and posture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is an influence of airway on malocclusion, but the research isn't particularly strong on that because it's very difficult to conduct research like that.
Yeah, because you have to do
Um,
twin
in,
studies. We're thinking about the John Mew thing, or
yeah, I mean, I'm going to completely stay away from that altogether because that's not even orthodontics.
yeah,
Uh, it's I don't even want to say what it is because it's a made up term. So that's not orthodontics at all. And I wouldn't, my expertise lays in orthodontics, not in anything
Yeah,
else.
I'm asking some probing questions, shall we say? I think it's interesting though.
That
Um,
it, yeah, I mean, interesting is one way to put it. But I think what we look at is
yeah.
outcomes, measurable, objective outcomes. That's what we look at. We don't talk about stuff which is not really objective or measurable, and that's really the key to it. Um, but it's good to know that people sort of know about, alternative treatments and stuff like that. Um, but in the UK, we don't really look to expand the maxilla in 7-year-old patients, unless it's particularly indicated for a
Mm,
specific thing. And normally we don't start treatment before the age of 9, even in
yeah,
those
no. I think
cases.
you'd have to do CPAP or something to see whether there's some real issues with uh, sleep and like, sleep studies to find out what's going on if you were going to go through down that line or something.
I mean, yeah, sleep issues in a child at that age. I mean, that's again a little bit outside my
Yeah.
specialty. Um, but the expansion of the maxilla and stuff not really done in that age group at all. We just sort of wait until a bit until later on. Feels like I feel like you have something you want to add there,
No, it's
Javier.
it's it's just something that really interested me when I was going through finals, and there's actually a guy called Derek Mahoney in Australia who's got a really good YouTube
Yeah.
series.
Okay.
A really good YouTube series. There's any students out there watching who are still not quite clocking ortho, his YouTube series literally set me straight. It made me understand what was going on, even though that's the kind of stuff we don't do in the UK. It gave me a further understanding of what different types of orthodontics are, and then it kind of got me to
Yeah,
understand.
that really is great to sort of see what else is
Mm.
out there. Um, and again, that's
I'll have to
probably
get him on to try and get hold of him.
yeah, yeah, you should definitely get them on to get an alternative view on less mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely a good one to have on. But for people who actually want to understand orthodontics, the classic Laura Mitchell textbook is the one everyone should read. That's an undergraduate textbook that everyone should really know and understand. So that's what you should read. And if you don't know, then ask an
Yeah,
orthodontist.
I don't know. I don't know
Ask.
one though.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that, Javier.
Okay. Yeah, moving on. Because I think that's just one of those. It's one of the. I read a lot of random things. This is the issue. So, I have lots of very random information that I'm just going to throw at people when they come on, uh, and get people's opinions on things. So I think it's interesting. Uh,
I think it's good.
yeah, go.
No, it's fine. I mean, um, the thing with most of this stuff is that this is pretty much all opinion
Yeah.
based, and most of the sort of less mainstream stuff is even more opinion based. It's more around the sort of the sort of claims or teachings of an individual and
It's
their
almost cult-like.
philosophy. Almost,
Yeah.
almost, and it's very difficult to sort of absorb and put into practice because it is extremely subjective. And there aren't very many good quality studies looking at airway expansion in 7-year-olds.
Yeah, because it's
And so
try get like ethical committees to sign off on that.
that is ridiculous. So it's very difficult for um, so that leaves a door open for what Professor Brown will call snake oil salesmen, where it's difficult to sort of say anything against them because you haven't got the evidence to say anything against that. But at the same time, it leaves the door open for people to make a quick buck off it as
Mm.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
so
it's one of
it
those things,
comes
isn't
down
it?
to ethics. It comes down to ethics.
Mm.
And I've on more than one occasion had patients ask me to provide treatment, which was I thought not particularly beneficial to them, or unrealistic, or would I don't think I could deliver those expectations. And it comes down to being an honest clinician and being ethical.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean I remember on one occasion, a patient was not taking no for an answer, and so I decided that the way to deal with it was to price her out of it. And I came up with a ridiculous figure, which it was just ridiculous. I don't even want to say how much it
What
was
that you quoted?
that I quoted. It was just, I mean, it had a lot of zeros after it, and she went for it. Uh, so I, and on reflection, that wasn't the best way for me to do it. And now what I just do is I just point blank, I just have put my foot down and I just say, I'm really sorry. I don't think I can deliver that. And I have to turn them away in the most polite way
Mm.
possible. So that was a good learning exercise for me as
It
well.
reminds me of a story of someone who was doing what's it called, facial aesthetics down in London, and they were running a clinic, and they'd got called to some hotel to give some Russian lady some Botox or some fillers, and two of them went in, and one of them kind of like, I don't know, looked her up or something before they went in. He goes, okay, we're gonna add an extra zero on the end of this one, and she didn't bat an eyelid, and they 10x'd because they'd done a little bit of research and they just went, we can get away with this one, don't worry about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that you got to be careful with that as well, you know. I mean,
Russian
there,
oligarchs, they don't know what things cost. Ask them what the price of a loaf of bread is. They don't have a clue.
yeah, that's true. They probably don't know. They probably don't know. But again, you know, it's hard because do you charge what the patient can pay, or do you charge what you would charge anybody else? You know, it, it's difficult because we're
Yeah.
sort of in this position where we're sort of healthcare workers, but we're also as practitioners, we run businesses.
Yeah,
You
you got
know,
the bottom line to worry about.
exactly. So
Cats to feed, you know.
exactly, Bengals to feed. So it's difficult, and in any other business, like if you're a contractor, you know, you give a person a quote based on if you think they're a footballer or not, for example.
Mm.
Um, so
It's
you
unlikely
know,
a footballer's going to call an orthodontist to the hotel for some impressions, though.
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
I'm coming as security next time you get that call. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we have traders and footballers, and they're actually really sound. And I have to be honest, you know, the practice where I work, they've been charged sort of the going rate,
Mm.
not sort of no extra zeros added on. And I think they probably appreciate that because they are human beings and they're really nice people most of the time as
We
well.
like to hear names or no?
No, sorry, no names, no names.
Oh well. But yeah, I think that's the thing. And
I'll
moving.
put up a picture soon on my Instagram of someone I saw recently. Although admittedly not my patient,
Okay.
but just one of the practice who I met and we were just treating for something else.
Yeah, maybe you should get some free tickets if it's the right side of Manchester.
Unfortunately, you know, this patient traveled quite a
Okay.
while, quite a way.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
If it's red side, then well, actually, I've got a season ticket anyway, but I'll take free
yeah. I
tickets
mean,
on top of that. I don't know why not.
Ali came to me recently. You know, Ali
Yeah, yeah.
Altaf, you know, from G Crisis, and he said, "I'm thinking about getting a season ticket." I said, "Ali, there's no football going on. You can't go to the stadium right
Oh,
now.
if he
What is
does, try tell him to say my name to try and get in the same block as me. That'd be really
Really?
good. Yeah, yeah. They actually they accommodate things like that.
So what's going on with your season ticket? I mean, are they refunding
I
it or what's the story?
they've refunded the games that didn't get played last year, or was it refunded? Or it's gonna get taken off the next one.
Okay,
So yeah,
fine.
so I've not paid anything yet. Um, so yeah, I'm dying to get back in. The last game I went to was bloody Man City at home. What a game that was!
No.
Oh, what a game that was.
Man City at
Two
home.
0.
Okay, no, yeah. What's the best game you've been to at Old Trafford?
Ooh, I mean, there's ways to quantify that. I've only had my season ticket for about 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, there is different ways to quantify that. But what is the game where you wish you could relive if there was such a game?
I think there's two. There's the Barcelona semi-final, the Paul Scholes goal.
Okay,
That was wow. That
you were there for that one.
yeah. So
That's back like 10 years.
that was 2008 semi-final.
Eight years.
Um, we got some tickets from my dad's. One of my dad's patients was the old coach for the youth team. He's passed away now, unfortunately, but yeah, really really nice guy, Eric Harrison. He got us some tickets via Gary Neville, and we were sat in the family stand, the players' family stand. So we're
Nice.
just by the tunnel, and then there's a little gap between the pull-out tunnel
Mhm.
and then the actual
Yeah.
brick and mortar tunnel. And then as they're pulling out, I'm looking down there as a sweaty little 15-year-old, And I'm like eyeballing Rio like this. It was crazy. And then after the game, during the game, like if you touched the floor or the seat, everything was vibrating. It was that loud.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
I
good.
mean, you're next to for them there, so is this going
Yeah,
to be
we were just
crazy?
underneath. And then the other game that comes to mind is the last game I went to. Actually, is a City game because it was a really tight game. Little flick over the wall, and then Martial bags it in the corner, and then
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah. I
McTominay
remember
goal at
that.
the end. Oh my god, the place just erupted. Like I've not been that elated coming out of a game in probably since the Barcelona one. That was probably the best atmosphere since that Barcelona game.
I think it's meant so much at that point. We needed that
Mm.
victory, and obviously it was City, and I think also I think we took City apart in that game. And that was an embarrassing last goal to give away. I think that was the
Yeah,
third
we
goal, wasn't
completely
it?
nullified them. It wasn't like they were knocking on the door and we were getting away with it.
Oh, no, they
We just
weren't, and
shut them
and,
down.
and that's all. Yeah, I think my best game was I went to Champions League. I think it was quarterfinal Chelsea against Chelsea,
What year would that be?
and that was a 3-1 game. I think John Terry got sent off, and and I mean Park scored an absolute. Jason Park
Oh,
scored an
we're talking way
absolute.
back when, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, this is post 2009, but still in the Ferguson era.
Oh, it must be
Still in the
2011 when we got to the final.
I, I think
Yeah.
so. So that was a really good game for me, and then I remember the atmosphere that day was electric. And the one game which I missed out on was the 8-2 against Arsenal.
Oh,
And the funny thing, because I had been to so many United games that season, and I was getting sick of them. I had 4 tickets, and I actually sold one of them at like a loss because I just need to get rid of these tickets. And then that evening, I was watching the game. I couldn't believe that this guy had gone to watch an 8-2 at Old Trafford for like 20 quid. I was like, this guy's got the bargain of the
so
century.
Habe says United Bayern when Moyes took over was epic. Oh, the one with Ever scored, where Ever scored, and then bloody Robin got it goal like 2 minutes later. That was the one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually,
Yeah. Okay. Wait. This is just turning into an
yeah, this is
MUFC.
turning into my other channel.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back into lingual
Yeah,
orthodontics.
and yeah, we were supposed to talk about lingual, and I also wanted to talk to you about um, if somebody is doing veneers or is doing, a rehab, a bit about why we should be doing ortho first, because that is something I do believe. If you're doing that kind of work, you probably 9 times out of 10 want to be moving things first to make the least damage possible before you head over to um, start cutting teeth, etc.
Yeah, I think that's sort of there's two parts to that question. One is relating to tooth
Mm.
position and occlusion, and the other relates to materials and occlusion, which is sort of the prosthodontics, the Habe's territory,
Yeah, yeah,
really. But I think if you are providing veneers, whether that's composite or whether it's porcelain, ultimately the longevity of that relates to your preparation, the materials you use, but also the occlusion. Um, and establishing mutually protective occlusions prior to sort of placing particularly expensive, porcelain restoration is really ideal. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where either number one, your preparation might be suboptimal, so you might have very thick, chunky veneers in certain parts. You might have to do a lot of tooth reduction in other areas, or just end up doing a crown, and that'll lead to things like early devitalization of teeth and subsequent, entering into that restorative cycle or endodontic cycle. And it also means that if you haven't aligned beforehand, you'll end up with a situation where the guidance might be suboptimal. You'll end up either chipping, breaking, or debonding your restorations on sort of a regular basis. So, and that has implications for the patient in terms of their convenience, their cost, and but more importantly for you in terms of producing good quality work that's reliable, consistent, and build your reputation as a dentist. It's about understanding that you need to do the background work before you sort of put on the cosmetics. It's a bit like laying the foundations for a house, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
So, the first element of it is educating yourself as a dentist to understand What's going to go wrong with your restorations if you aren't looking at occlusion, both static and dynamic. So get that education done for yourself. Understand what these things are all about. Understand what occlusion means. And then the second thing is build your reputation by providing that good quality work. There's no point doing expensive restorations, expensive veneers if they're going to fail because you don't understand occlusion. And I do actually think that occlusion seems to have this sort of myth around it, particularly in the UK. And people run sort of occlusion courses. And personally, I never understood what that means. Like, what is an occlusion
I think
course?
it's just because it's
What does
so
that?
poorly understood by undergrads. There's almost no teaching on occlusion as a topic almost. We don't really understand it to any particular huge degree, and everything that we do within dentistry is almost, there's some sort of occlusal implication. If we're doing a crown posteriorly, why do we lose space if it's the last standing crown, or whatever it might be? There's some sort of occlusal analysis to be done that you should be doing to work out what's going on and how to plan your restoration. For example, C factor when you're looking of a bonded onlay or something. Why does this onlay keep on pinging off? Is it because of my prep, or is it because of the bonding protocol you're going through? If it is the prep, then it's down to the occlusion. You need to understand why, where the forces are going and stuff.
That's the thing, though. I mean, the sort of for me, the sort of there's two things. I mean, there's occlusion and there's your material. That's it. Um, and with occlusion, I just want to sort of lay this as my line on occlusion. There is such a thing as a mutually protective occlusion, and that's where the back teeth protect the front teeth, and the front teeth protect the back teeth in both static and dynamic
Mm.
occlusion. And achieve that, everything will be fine. And if you can't achieve it, then look at doing group function. And that just means that more than the canine is guiding your occlusion. And that should pretty much protect you for most situations. But I suppose what I don't understand is that why isn't this being taught in dental schools? It's such a fundamental element of everything. It's not even a difficult concept. It's actually a really simple concept to
I
understand.
think
But why is it that people are going through dental education of 5 years of a degree, a tough degree, and not understanding what is essentially the key to a successful career?
Yeah, as Ahabe's saying, Jabber, as a UK grad, did you have an inclusion module or course as part of the undergrad training? Not really. It was kind of integrated within everything. From my memory, I'm really having to think back now. I'll maybe go through my notes, but I don't remember there being an occlusion course as such. I think we had um, a little bit of teaching, but I think the problem is there is so much going on in university. You've got competencies to get through, you've got essays, you've got patients to get through, that maybe occlusion is something which is a bit of
Neglected in a way.
maybe neglected a bit by students as much as it is by maybe it doesn't get neglected by faculty so much. Maybe it is something that gets neglected by students, and you can't really adequately examine it, I think, with the way finals are set out, because all your cases are going to be checked by someone, and if they say, "Oh, just adjust this here, adjust this there," sometimes the clinician will just jump in and do it for you, because they just say, "Okay, yeah, pretty much there. Let me just jump in and finish off." And you don't really see what they're doing once they've taken over from the patient. It's not like everything's on live display with a screen there where you can see what's going on. So maybe that's part of it.
Mm. Maybe that is part of it. Maybe it's a dental education problem.
Mm,
That's a bit more widespread.
maybe we need
But
like another couple of months in uni. Like I never really understood why we had such long holidays from dental school. Um,
that's actually really interesting that you say that, Jabir, because in Ireland we didn't have long holidays. So when we got to our clinical years, and for me that was third year, and I know in other schools it's second year. Um, Hopefully it's not fourth for anybody, but yeah. Once we got into third year, our summer sort of vacations were condensed to six
Even
weeks.
6, no, but that for me, I mean, people, students are gonna kill me for this, but I don't see why you need more than a couple of weeks off here and there. I think you should probably have a couple more regular holidays. So instead of having Christmas, Easter, summer, split it up into 6 or 7 or
Blo-
8 2-week blocks,
Mm,
just to break it up, because you need continual learning. If you have 6 weeks off during your dental education, That's enough time to forget half of what you just learned.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. You probably are right about that. I mean,
And
I,
we're lazy students, man. We're so. I mean, I was the worst. I really was.
I did
Uh,
enjoy it though. I did enjoy like having a bit of a longer break, like just like getting really super bored after a few weeks was kind of nice. And then, and then sort of coming back. I mean, maybe I would have taken a month instead of 6 weeks. But if you said to me, only getting like, if you're going only getting 2 weeks off, I don't think I'd be happy with that.
no, no, you'll still get the same number of weeks.
I know, but I kind of like that.
I see what you mean.
I like that block of just pure like sitting on my backside, like just watching whatever, in the summer holidays, just relaxing and doing barbecues at 2 in the morning. I loved that in university. I really did. Me and Zabe used to do it. We used to have a friend over. We used to do it on a tiny little barbecue on the porch at like literally 1 a.m.
Mm,
making kebab. And it was really fun to have that. But I think if you did it more regularly, I just might actually not get into the swing of things. Once you get going after a few weeks, you're in university, then you have a 2 week break. Suddenly, you break the cycle again. So that's the flip side to it, I guess.
yeah, I think there's just I think the whole way it's done because it follows the academic calendar of all the other courses doesn't
Yeah,
make sense for a course like dentistry.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm sure. I think I want to get Chris O'Connor, who's the guy who did my composite veneers when I was in final year, to come on because I think we'll have a good chat about that. Whether he'll actually agree to come on or not, I'm not sure because again, he's in the hospital, so it's the whole trust. Or will he be unhappy with me doing this sort of thing? So uh, maybe I'll have to get in
We'll be
touch with him
happy
again.
as long as you don't ask him to comment on dental education.
No, but that's what I wanted to comment on.
I know. That's the thing, though, isn't it? That it
So,
is.
Chris, how would you rip up dental school and start again?
It's so difficult, man. And the thing is that they also work to so many restrictions,
Yeah.
in terms of education. And once you sort of start understanding how exams are written, how questions are written, it's so complex, and it's such a pain, that you got to feel for the educators because it is incredibly difficult to just even write exam papers or write templates and write syllabus. It's extremely difficult.
Mm.
I do feel for them at the same time.
Yeah,
I know I'm giving
yeah.
out.
I mean, it's one of those we like to talk hypothetically on things like this, and um, it's interesting. Maybe sometimes if you just turn dental school upside down, start day one on the clinics, um, and then learn the theory the other way around afterwards, as in why would
It's a
it?
bit like it's a bit like problem-based learning, isn't it? In a
Mm,
way. We've got a great question here.
let's have a
Jabi, I'm
look.
going to let you do the honors.
Is that from Zahab or from Zainab?
Then,
What is occlusion and when do you learn it? Occlusion is a myth, and Dr. Ali has been learning about teaching us about it today.
yeah, I mean, what can I think Jabi hit the nail on the head there.
It's everything and nothing.
I think that's the perfect way to. It depends where you came from, but yeah, in some places it's everything, in other places it doesn't exist at all.
Fool's gold. What else? And is it integrated into VT schemes? Yes, but they cancelled the occlusion day on my VT because they wanted to get another day in on something else.
So hey, to clarify, they don't really a VT scheme. The study list or sort of the study days which are organized are simply organized by the VT scheme organizer, the leader for that scheme. There's no specific syllabus, as far as I know, that they follow, unless Jabir, you have other information. But I don't think there's a specific syllabus that they follow for that. They just have a list of study days that they put together,
No,
which they feel.
yeah, they try and cover the bases. They do try and cover the bases. I mean, I was quite close to Mark, who was my TPD, and he was quite involved in stuff, and you got me the job that I was in previously, up until
Where you're training your
I
VT?
did it in East Yorkshire, or East and North Yorkshire. So I was in Selby near York, um, and Mark was the TPD, and he was great. He was we really got on, obviously because he's
Yeah,
an endo dude. So he's we had that
Mark,
Irish Mark McAllister.
Mark, oh, Mark McAllister. Okay, fine. Then I'm thinking of somebody else.
But yeah, he
Irish, wait,
yeah I love the Irish
can't
accent.
can't go wrong.
It makes you feel happy for some reason, even if they're a little bit pissed off. You just like, uh, yeah.
Just bust out there a pot of gold,
They
yeah.
do try and cover all the bases, but it is difficult because there's so much stuff and people are coming from different universities and different places, and everyone. Some people have had a year off. Some people are really super keen. So everyone's at a different stage and different level. So it was a very much sort of dental school again with the study days. It wasn't progressing you further. It was just ensuring you weren't terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Which meant that actually you weren't advancing your knowledge of occlusion as such. It was more just. I mean, I don't remember any teaching of occlusion on my study days at
No,
all.
I mean, there was going to be a day and it got cancelled. I can't remember what they cancelled it for,
Yeah.
but it did get cancelled. No, we didn't do ABB on instead of occlusion. Thank God.
No, I mean on ABB, I mean Align Bleach Bond. I think that's actually quite good. I know it's taken off via um what is that lab called? The TIFF Qureshi lab.
IAS
I
author.
yes, I know that's sort of taken off. And that's something which I think is valuable in its own way. And you mentioned sort of David sort of doing his thing up in Newcastle.
Hmm.
Uh,
You
that's
guys had
awesome.
such a. I remember me and Ali were on, and then you jumped in very, very late notice because someone dropped out, and
That was
then
random, yeah.
me and Ali putting our feet up, and you and Dave just smashing it, going. It was great. It was great for me to listen to, so I didn't have to speak for an hour.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you saying, "Oh, this was Blockbuster. I'm going to put this on YouTube," and you never
I
did.
lost everything, so I didn't know at the time. But if you go past 12 hours, it doesn't save anything. So
That is a disaster.
sure, I've left it up there as the event page, so we can see how many views and stuff. But it
Yeah.
just says processing, and it's been processing for 3 months. So
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that was fun though. It was good to speak to David as well, but just to get his view on things, from ortho GDP point of view and stuff like
mm,
that. But I think again going back to ortho GDP, I think it's a great sort of practice builder for people. The current trend is doing these Invisalign open days. I think that's really good, really good practice builder or even social media builder that the GDP they're sort of utilizing, and that's pretty cool. But again, it's just about being careful, selecting your cases very carefully. But I'm kind of shocked at some of the Invisalign stuff that's coming out as well because I look at some of the cases and I think this is a barn door crashing case. It's way too
right,
crowded. And then I see the after with Invisalign and it's aligned
somehow
um, somehow, and it's and that's okay, and maybe the other people are much more skilled in orthodontics, but it does shock me some of the stuff because the long-term implication of that is quite significant in terms of periodontal health, gingival recession, stability. It really is quite
that buckle
significant in
plate
terms of long.
getting thin.
Exactly, it's really thin. The gingival biotype is thin to begin with, or phenotype, or the periodontist will say nowadays. So some of the stuff is great. Some of the stuff I'm a bit more
Reserved on.
skeptical.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start closing up now because I think we've kept you for quite a while. This has been wild though. Question I've been asking everyone is if you had your own podcast, could be dental, non-dental, but who are your first three guests? Completely, dream guest, whatever.
Oh, dude, that is a really hard question. First three guesses: Donald Trump.
All
Number
right, why?
one,
Let's dive
Donald
in.
Trump. Well, that's guaranteed entertainment. I don't really have any affection or support or love for the Donald, but I mean that is just guaranteed fun. I mean the thing is, if I had a podcast, I wouldn't even want to make it serious. I would just want it to be like a comedy show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stuck in two worlds. I shot myself in the leg almost during lockdown because I started getting people in. I was like, oh, you know what, we'll do cases. Everyone's sat at home, we'll do cases. So people almost know me as the guy who does cases and on Instagram Live and stuff like that. Whereas my
Yeah,
podcast was supposed to be, I'll get a dentist on and we'll talk absolute nonsense for an hour or two.
yeah, yeah. You're kind of caught in the middle.
I think there's a balance to be
Uh,
made.
but I think, to be honest, I think you're in a good place because I think people hopefully still get something from listening to people like me ramble.
Yeah.
Um, but it's sort of still, dipping in and out of our lives, our experiences, and that sort of is beneficial to people because that's ultimately what makes us who we are.
Yeah, yeah. That's why
Um,
I mean, Dennis Vince's kicked off. People are nosy and like to know about other people. So
yeah, 100%, 100%. So yeah, I start off with a Donald, but then I think I would probably get like a comedy pair, like a
Gus
pairing, and I would
Khan.
just want. Oh, Ghazi Khan would be amazing. Mainly because I want to feel like I'm just chilling and these guys are my friends. Or like like The Rock and that small guy,
Oh, Kevin
Kevin
Hart.
Hart.
Kevin Hart is
Yeah,
he's inspirational, yo.
unbelievable, unbelievable. But those two together, I don't know if you've seen like their Facebook videos and stuff, but those two together are just like gold dust, absolute gold dust to me. And the third podcast, I don't know. I'll probably try and like be sensible and get somewhere inspirational, but I'll leave that one open. I get Jabir. I get Jabir on as a reciprocal
Oh,
podcaster.
I yeah. Um,
Definitely not Farouk. Definitely not Farouk.
who's Farouk?
I don't know, man. Some guy.
Sorry, bro, if you're still watching. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's interesting because there's so many ways you can go with these, and I'm gonna start branching out soon, guys. So you're gonna see a few non-dentists coming on, more and more. There's a friend of mine. He's a medic and also a personal trainer, and someone that I used to go to the gym with in uni. So if I can grab hold of him at some point, that's gonna be fun because we talk a lot of nonsense. That'll be good. Um, yeah.
I think well, what's also really interesting is looking at people who sort of excelled at a particular thing, whether that's sort of like a social media person or marketing person or just someone who's built up a lot of practices and can sort of give their own experience on those kind of things. I think that's quite good as well. Um,
Yeah, I mean, because
you know.
there's things that you can take away from almost anyone you speak to, and that's what I think sometimes gets lost because you don't always need to listen to a dentist. You could listen to, I don't know, it could be a mechanic, and something that they say
Yeah.
about it could be something completely unrelated to dentistry. You might just go, "Oh, that's a really good idea. I'm going to start implementing that particular idea into my life somehow." It could be work-life balance, could be gym, could be
Mhm.
anything, and that could take you on to the next level in the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you're right. Like your idea to bring other people into it who are non-dental will probably reflect, nicely to your listeners because I think, like you say, to get that experience from someone else in some other walk of life is probably something we don't often do.
Yeah.
At least majority of my friends are
Oh,
dentists,
everyone's a
or
dentist or a
I've
medic.
got doctors, and then I've got a few sort of like finance people. I don't even know what they do. But it's always interesting to sort of speak to the non-medical people because generally, they're number one, they're less boring than we are. That's one thing I've found, and two, they just sort of have a different take on things. So it's always nice to get that alternative view.
Yeah, there's a whole other world out there that we kind of get shut off from as soon as you enter dental school or medical school that you maybe don't experience, and it's interesting to see that there's another way to be successful, which isn't medical. Which we kind of you get stuck in like a not it's not a rut, but you get stuck in a world. It's a different world to anyone
It's
else's.
it's a rut. No, yeah, you're right. You kind of get in this little healthcare
Yeah,
bubble.
that's probably the right way to say it. Um,
And also, people measure success differently.
mm,
Some people's success is being a consultant. Some people's success is just being the dentist or doing Invisalign. And people measure success differently. And when you speak to other people, it's interesting to see because they'll sort of view you differently to how you might view yourself. So people might say to me, "You've done well. You're a consultant now, alhamdulillah." And for me, I just feel like that's just part of the journey. I don't feel like I've actually gotten to where I need to be yet.
mm.
Uh, and so that's always it's good to sort of just benchmark with other people because it also makes you grateful for what you have.
Yeah, I think that's really
Uh,
important.
yeah, we always think that, I haven't done this, I haven't bought a house, I haven't done that. Whereas it's always good to remember that someone would kill for what you have.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
Cool.
really key. If you think about, all these people, almost bring it back to where we first kind of got acquainted as, the Refugee Crisis Foundation, these guys that are trying to cross the English Channel on little dinghies, and whatever we're complaining about, it just seems very, very ridiculous in retrospect, when you really think about it.
Insignificant, isn't
Mm.
it?
Yeah. Also, by the way, that lamp that you got behind there, I bought for when I was in uni. I had that in my room for 6 years.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a good lamp.
It's a very good lamp. I don't even know where we got it from at this
I
point.
think it was IKEA, or no, I got mine from Argos.
I don't know. I don't know where it's from, man. I mean,
It's
I
got the
didn't
nice
buy it.
little click click, and it twists, right?
Yeah, but what my daughter does is she climbs up on the chair that's next to it and just turns it on and off. And if anybody who has these lamps knows that the bulb is on the top is very expensive.
Oh, it's that long, thin one, isn't it?
The long one, it's like 400 pounds a bulb or something stupid. And I've just got to the point where I'm just like, I'm not replacing that bulb anymore because you're just gonna fuse it
Do you
tomorrow.
know the thing is, you have to watch out at the top of there because I used to find flies stuck in there.
Yeah, I know
Yeah, so
that.
that's
Yeah,
that's the annoying thing about it. I don't actually know where that lamp's gone now because I no longer have it. Um,
it's a good mood lamp. I don't really. I know I've got all the lights on at the moment, but just because we're doing the podcast, I normally just have like mood lighting on. I don't like bright lights at
yeah.
all.
Well,
I just
I like
turn it
my
down.
lighting. I'm actually the one I've got here is a little bit harsh. Maybe need to get one that just softens the glow on my face a little more, and then I can actually wear my glasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you got the ring
Yes,
one?
I mean if I'll put them on for a second, you guys will see. By the way, before we end, guys, drop in your likes. Make sure you've subscribed. But can you see the
Oh
yeah?
yeah, I can. Nice.
And make sure to subscribe. And let us know what you're having for dinner because I need to have a think now. Actually, I need to go lift as well first. I haven't done my push day yet.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything that I've got left to say? It's been great having you on, man. I think we'll probably call it there.
That was fun, man. I really enjoyed doing it. I really didn't know. I was like, debate wants 90 minutes. How am
Don't
I gonna
worry.
fit on
Don't
90
worry.
minutes?
I could talk forever.
It's like almost been 2 hours now, and it literally time has flown by. I really enjoyed it, man. It was good just to, you know what? It almost felt like a little sort of, I wouldn't say a therapy session, but like it was good to, it was a nice little reflective session, where you got to look back on life a little
It's
bit.
a Friday. Well, by the way, guys, every Friday night. So make sure you're here again 8 p.m. next week. We're talking about investing. But yeah, so I mean, this is the point. The way I've kind of described it is either you go into a coffee shop with a mate and you're just having a chat for a couple of hours, catch up, or it's fireside chat. Do you know that kind of let's kick back. I'm pretty tired, and let's just see what
Mhm.
happens. It's not going to be a
Mhm.
a really intense look at this case that I did and look how I chopped this root off and did an extraction and put an implant inside a molar, inside a tooth, inside of this or that. Some mad stuff that people do. Whatever it
Mhm.
is. I know that didn't make any sense, but whatever. Uh,
That lower back riser motor, yeah.
yeah. Um, mini implant molar.
Those as well, I know. To be honest with you.
Yeah. No, but this is the thing. So we're going to do this every Friday from now on, guys. I think it's nice that if there's something that everyone knows, 10 p.m. curfew, let's make it 8 p.m. curfew and everyone sit inside and have a munch whilst listening to me to talk nonsense to people. And yeah, so hopefully it'll kick off. We've had a pretty good run of it. 56 playbacks, by the way.
That's pretty good,
Not
man.
bad
I'm pretty
for
happy.
year one, day one. So yeah,
I'm pretty good.
I'll catch up with you soon, guys. If you've enjoyed everything that we've been talking about, make sure to hit the link to Hisham's profile in the bio of the video. Um, Give him a bit of support in the work he's doing. If you've got patients who need ortho in the Manchester area that you don't want to do yourself or whatever, then Hisham's the guy to go to. Um, Make sure to subscribe,
Okay.
like, comment. Do you want to say it?
Yeah, subscribe, comment, follow, share, tweet, retweet, hashtag, everything that you can. Just do
Post as well.
post, absolutely comment. No, but Jabir, thanks for having me
Yeah,
on, man.
no
Really,
worries.
really good. And I'll definitely be tuning into the one next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And guys, if you enjoy the content and want to help me out in a little more substantial way or whatever, head over, have a look at the Patreon group. We've got a really cool group of dentists on Discord. It's like a little chat room, and we will be hopefully taking this on the road at some point and going out to meet our guests. So yeah, that is it for today, and let's see you next week. Tell all your friends